good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this conference. The whole idea, like I explained to you, the idea behind this conference is to collect the information on what are those top three entrepreneurial skills that made you a better entrepreneur. Everybody was like, calling me and asking me, I'm not a successful entrepreneur, so what should I say? So my answer for that is, you are successful just because you started off being an entrepreneur and you're still an entrepreneur, you're successful. This is a journey. It is not like everybody says, it is not a 100-meter dash, it's a marathon. So, so the whole idea is to getting all of you together, getting to know who and all is there in the group is becoming a challenge. In fact, Lakshminarayana went about and booked Park Hyatt just before the pandemic. He said, we will bring everybody together and all that. We had to cancel it at that point of time because the pandemic caught up. But otherwise, he was perhaps the first sponsor. There are many others who wanted to join subsequently, saying, we will also contribute to everybody getting together. So that did not anyhow happen. Now maybe we should try to make use of the technology and all that. So the first step is to collect these three entrepreneurial skills from you people, which made you successful. And start with Pankaj. Pankaj, you can do your introduction. Maybe these introductions will limit it to a minute. So each one will get a minute so you can quickly tell what you are. Of course, we are not going to time it, but yeah, a minute should be good enough so that we can wind up exactly by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, basically, my name is Pankaj Surana. I am a director at APS Property Solutions and Rishabha Constructions, a managing partner at Rishabha Constructions. So we are into the business of, we are a 16-year-old company. We have been into the business of consultation from past 16 years now. In fact, we celebrated our 16th anniversary just today on 14th of July. Okay. And we have been in this business from and currently having our offices in Chennai and Delhi too. Construction vertical of ours, we have started around 3 years back, and currently we are doing two projects. One which is in Nalagandla, which is about 110,000 square feet, and the other which is on 36 Jubilee Hills, which is around 40,000 square feet. So one is residential and the other is commercial. So this is on the construction part. And regarding the consultation part, we have been working very aggressively with landlords. We're working very aggressively with companies like all hospitals, supermarkets, IT companies, all these have been, and schools. We have done Mamta Medical College campus in Miyapur, Bachpalli Road, and then Gitanjali School has been a regular client. So on and so forth. The list goes on. 16 years have been a huge journey with different different mentality of clients with different perspectives. So currently have our core base in Hyderabad, and we operate in Chennai and Delhi full time. But otherwise, Bangalore and all on land transactions and Pune, this has been a regular affair. So we keep traveling to other cities based on the work requirements. So that's how, and we've been pretty aggressive in our work, dedicated to the core.
Okay.
That's it.
Wonderful. So who will go next? Lakshminarayana, would you like to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good evening all. My name is Lakshminarayan. I'm a founder and CEO of Ascent Care Services, which is started like 12 years back. And also I'm a founder and CEO of Nesca Tech Private Limited, which is like aggressively we are doing on wooden house constructions in India. The other company that I already run is a design-oriented company, which does the construction designs, like wooden house construction designs. We design and supply to the Canadian and US market. Not only Canadian and US market, we also supply designs to the Europe markets also. And when it comes to the part of the Nesca Tech Private Limited, like we are taking very R&D part with the Canadian government agency to promote Canadian wooden homes in India when we say like a wooden homes in India, like mostly we might be thinking of cottages and then resort side and then beachside homes. But we are mainly focusing on primary homes, not the secondary homes. Primary homes means G+1, like ground +4, like you can do the ground +4 structural wooden buildings, where you can see like we are focusing on making a colonies, like communities, colonies. We started this Nesca Tech Private Limited, like construction of wooden houses in the year of 2019. Now we are happy to share that we are working with the Hetero Pharma as well as the Mega Engineering and also the MAC projects, which is closely in Hyderabad. And then Mega Engineering, the project we are doing in Kashmir, which is for the guest house for the ministers. And Hetero Pharma, we are doing for the chairman, is for the guest houses and as well as other farmhouses for them. So the idea we came up with doing wooden house constructions is like the same thing what we have been doing in US and Canada, because we do services and then we have a Canadian partner who can supply the materials. And then I'm an expert in construction management. So the same idea we are carrying into the India, and then now we are making designs, construction management, and supplying building materials, and then execution part. So one-stop solutions, like we are giving a one-stop solutions for the wooden houses. So yeah, this is now I'm seeing after the pandemic. Before pandemic, we were thinking, okay, this is going to be a niche market, and then this might be need more knowledge, like more awareness. But pandemic made us our job easy, because everybody is getting more aware of healthy living. Now more demand is coming for the wooden houses, farmhouses, and then healthy living category side. So we are happy to be. I mean, I can't say the pandemic made educated everybody, and then we are finding the business out of that education. So yeah, this is a brief about our Nesca homes. So we are running the wooden houses under the brand of Nesca Homes. Nesca is close to nature, so we are going close to nature homes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sandeep, over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone. Sandeep here. I run a warehousing company by the name Zero Mile Warehousing. We build warehouses. We've been building for last 15, 16 years now. This should be 16th year, and we've started off building a small godown for a seed company, and today we are fast approaching close to about 2 million square feet of warehousing space in Hyderabad, and soon we'll be venturing out of Hyderabad as well. We are almost on the verge of doing something in Bangalore now. Okay, so we specialize in building grade A warehousing spaces, which predominantly go for all the high-end warehousing requirements for e-commerce companies to retail, or anybody who wants to have high-quality warehousing spaces where they can deploy a lot of automation. So that's what we specialize in. And we just completed a 1 million square feet warehousing park. That's the biggest single point location warehousing park in Telangana right now. And we signed up with all the three big guys, and we have possibly this is the only place where we have all the three big guys fighting it out in a single location: the Reliances, the Amazons, and the Flipkarts of the world. So that's what we've just done. And we also do consulting for people who need a build to suit requirement of warehousing, where we take up the complete design part. We take up we understand the requirements and design warehouses as per their needs. We specialize that. And there are very, very few companies who do that in the country right now. So we do that, and we have a very high quality manpower that has come into the company after the last 2-3 years after my interaction with Mr. Harsha, and it's been doing well. And yeah, it's been a very good ride. Post COVID, it's been very, very stressful because of the demand because of the tremendous demand that's come out because of the e-commerce growth. So yeah, that's what we do. The company's name is Zero Mile Warehousing.
Excellent. All right. So now we will jump into those three skills that actually made you people what you are today, making you better. So we will start with Pankaj. Pankaj, you can tell, maybe you have about 10 minutes time to tell us about those three skills that you felt are very important. And then we will follow the same direction. We will go with Pankaj, then Lakshmarana, and then Sandeep. That's the way we will go about it. Okay. If I don't know whether I have keyed in your thing. So once you tell me, I will later on key it in this list. Whatever that I have told you from this particular list, I will key it there. Okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay. First, I think before coming to the skills part, I think what helped me, which really helped me, is basic lifestyle changes which have, got into my life. That has helped me in bringing in a lot of focus to say, getting my disciplines or time scheduling or routines right. Okay, I would say time for everything and then everything at its time. It helps in development of awareness and improves effectiveness. I think, Harsha, there are two mics which are on, so my voice is echoing somewhere.
Let me
I'll mute others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Activities right from early morning, meditation, fitness, working hours, defining the timelines for everything has helped me gain a little life balance of between work and personal and professional life. Then avoiding distractions. When we have a strict routine or basically time scheduling, we generally tend to avoid unnecessary conversations, unnecessary social media or online time, which basically helps in avoiding distractions in life. uh, Basically, I actually started spending too much of time on Instagram and Facebook on a very common note. What happened with that is I completely lost my focus and I didn't know, how to get on to things rightfully. So, getting off social media, deleting my Facebook and Instagram accounts helped me bring back a little, focus back into my life, which actually helped in building up a little awareness. Okay, once getting into that routine and avoiding distraction, helped me get on, focusing on my basic routine of works uh, with much more efficiency, which was much more thought. It helped me basically gain more energy to concentrate on things rightfully, bit by bit and day by day, basically. And it's helped me in evolve as a person and as a professional both. And automatically, when you start doing this, I think the performance of a person's start showing, you know on a day-to-day basis activity, and automatically your thought process improves. That's what I feel, which really helps. So basically, this is what I have done to my lifestyle changes to get into things rightfully. Then coming to skills, I would say, firstly, implementation. Whatever my strength is, basically my key strength in my all three skills is implementation. Firstly, whatever has to start has to end, and for everything there has to be a timeline. Time is absolutely the essence, which I feel, and wasting it and delaying it costs heavy to the business, to our time routines, to our schedules, everything. It's a wastage of human resource in entirety. So first, think implementation, whatever has been planned, has to be implemented with its according subject timeline. This is what is my key, and I have been working on it with a lot of, I've put in a lot of effort behind it. So, like if there's a project which I have taken, okay, setting the goals right, setting the practical timelines, not ambitious timelines, but practical timelines, giving it goals, and then proceeding it with every in a phased manner, so that what happens with this is you never get stressed if you work based on your timelines. If we avoid stress and work on the timelines, I think it's whatever you say about it, it's about passion or timely doing things or whatever, everything falls in place. When everything falls in, you stick to your timelines, I think that takes care of everything. Even a 6-hour day work schedule is good enough for you to complete your jobs. Rest is wasting time. That is what I feel. Okay, 6 to 8 hours is out and out. More than that, it is abuse of time what you're doing. In so implementation, I feel is the key. What I set it right first. Second is perseverance, which is my skill. I feel so. Continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failures, opposition, whatever it is. Keep doing things in the rightful manner, in the best industrial practices. It always has helped me in keeping my focus right, keeping my attention span right, keeping my thought process right. Keep on doing it regularly. The more you repetitively do, the more decisions you make on that day's maturity, on that day's knowledge. Of course, whatever we do, after 1 year, if we sit and reflect upon it, definitely I have always seen ki you feel that that decision might have not been, but as per that day's maturity, the decision what I had taken probably was the best. But yes, there is always scope of improvement in it. And coming to point number 3, which I feel is people whom you are surrounded with, whom you work with. That is the most valuable skill which you have. If you work with people and you're surrounded with people who don't have basic common sense, then basically you keep draining energy without just wasting time. So on this part, I've been working on 2 things. One is conversations with entrepreneurs, people, and who I am regularly interacting with. That has to always be in my focus. It has to be rightful. It's like basically during your college days, you have set of friends around you. Okay, depending on the friends what you have, okay, that's how you become basically. And of course, few friends of yours really pull you up while you perform, or just try to pull you down and just get you to the ground. Definitely. So one set is those type of people whom you are interacting and having conversation on a daily basis. They help you really motivate you. They help improve your thought process. I think that is very important, which I have been doing regularly, and I have been implementing this. I would not more of it call as a skill, but definitely it's again in my routine what I have been doing. And second is the type of people or type of team we work with. If they are good, if they are skillful, if they are attentive, communicative on a very regular basis, that avoids 90% of your troubles. 10% are always there which you cannot avoid, and which really helps. So I have been focusing on this third skill a lot, and I'm maturing on a day-to-day basis and daily. It's really helping me, and the focus is absolutely improving. First is by basic disciplines, what I have, or distractions or basic lifestyle changes, what I have brought in me. And then developing on these three skills: implementation, then perseverance, and then surrounded with rightful people. I have been regularly having conversations with you, Harsha. You should, if you don't, analyze it, you should think about it. I have been regularly in touch with you. So one of them is you, definitely, who have been motivating me and, keeping my focus and direction always right. So I really thank you for that. And definitely, I feel these three things plus the basic lifestyle changes have been the key or transformation, which has brought transformation into my life. That's it from my side, I think.
Super, very well. Super, well said. Okay, so let's go to the next person, Lakshmi Narayana.
Yes, sir. Nicely spoken, Pankaj. It's, when we say, hear something interesting stories, success stories from our co-entrepreneurs, it always gives an inspiration to at least see, okay, where we can, what we missed, and then what we again have to take care of things. So as we are just getting into the part of discussing about my three skills, I would say my three skills, which made me like successful. First would be coming all the time is my technical capacity. When I started my career, like I was not thinking I could be a entrepreneur or I can run a company. I was not thinking that. So that time I was just in 2001, I came to Hyderabad. I was thinking to do some job, and then even in that time, I was having a technical skills like I can read and draw drawings very nicely. Like I'm much interested in drawings, so that is my technical skill. Then that started to the software, using the software, and I got again technical capacity over the softwares. Same thing, like I do the drawings, I was doing in a paper, I did in a software, but I just stick to the one skill, drawing, and then I just upgraded to the adopted the next level of technologies like softwares and then other tools. Then in 2005, like I did like a 4 to 5 years as a designer, engineer, junior engineer, senior engineer. Then it gave me like a technical understanding over the designing. Then I was not even thinking that time in 2005 to 2008. I was not even thinking of I could be running a one company, which could be like having a 150 resources and Asia's biggest company in a designs which is serving US and Canada 5,000 designs a year. I was not even thinking that time. But my focus as a technical, my focus was to serve very best to each and every job that I do every day. So being a technically sound always gives you more understanding, and then definitely the passion makes you always move forward. So skill, if I say like a skill side, I would definitely say the first would be my technical skill. Any job or any company or any job, anything that you see, if you have a technical understanding over your concept or your idea, then you will be definitely having a next level of all other team or capacities, like next level of supporting skills can be added to the our journey. Though after the technical side, I was the only one who are having the least education level in my 15 team when I started in 2005. And when we leave on 2008, I was the top manager out of all these guys. Like these guys are from IITs from other areas, and then MS from US, and then I was leading them. But after 3 years, I was the lead for them. So I would say that it's not anything that you covered, is a technical thing that puts you on the top. So once I was in the top, and then I was looking at the area where we can see when I see the full demand, like a business need after technical skill set, I also see the more demand in the different markets like US and Canadian markets. Without demand, if you don't see any need of your technical skill, then it's a question where we are putting this energy. So once I see the more demand in US and Canada for this kind of job, like this kind of services, then we found like, why can't we do our own business with the same skill sets? For that skill set, definitely, when I'm doing myself as an employee, then I myself is fine to have a technical capacity. But when we want to run the company, or when we want to make the business, then definitely we need a team. So that team needs to have definitely in terms of technicals, as well as understanding the business strategies, and then serving better, and serving their needs. So we found a better team, and then we spent a lot of good time making the teams, and we trained them. We had a good set of trainings, and then we were very proud to be saying that we were the best team in the Asia, and then biggest team in the Asia, which was serving complete end-to-end design solutions for the wooden houses entire to the US and Canada. So we were very happy on making team. So I would always feel that the strength will be increased by the team's competencies. Like we should not be like giving one. If somebody's having a more technical team, it's not good, and then more HR team and more admin team. So we need all kind of teams. Like team in terms of, when I say team, it's all combination, like administration combination, and then technical combination, HR combination, like all kind of combination of teams is the organization. And then in other words, say like organization structure. So we definitely need a structure which is smoothly taking care of each and every forthcoming problems or forthcoming challenges. So that will give definitely a freedom to the each and every individual departments, and then it gives an energy to run very nicely. Once I found in 12 years, after even having a technical skills, having a nicer structural organization, we still need definitely need a vision like where we want to scale it up. So if we think that, okay, we can scale this to the Hyderabad, for example, if I say I can run my business in Hyderabad. So if I don't see beyond the Hyderabad, I cannot go beyond the Hyderabad. So if you want to be localized or hyper local, then this will definitely give you, vision. Putting vision is definitely, I feel like having a vision is a skill, and then working for that vision could be a technical strength, added advantage, and team is advantage. And then if you don't have a guideline where we go, and then what should we go, what should we do in the strategic way, we will be in a small scale, not going to be a big scale. So I definitely say that thinking of strategy, like having a strategies is I feel it should be a skill to have a strategies on the business. So I would definitely thank you, Mr. Harsha, for giving a nice vision. Without visioning, we cannot run the business successful and bigger way. So maybe I'm successful when I say if I have my small goals, like whatever goal, if I put my goal and then I reach that I'm successful. But we have to define what is our goal. Is that a small goal or a big goal? And that will define, vision can define what is our goal. So in identifying visions and then thinking big will always be possible only because of guidance of seeing all around the world. Otherwise, we will be confined to the small things and then we'll go. And then I'm very thankful. Like I was running design companies since 12 years. Everybody's looking at me as a successful, but still I found a different definition of successful after meeting Mr. Harsha, because the way I was looking at 12 years business was what we can say is there is always a statement like underplay, like you can say we were playing very underplay, and then we found very nicely. It's an eye-opening thing that when we have a coach like Mr. Harsha, it's always eye-opening thing that for the entrepreneurs especially who wanted to be a scalable, big visions, and then want to achieve in a timely manner. Like not, we spent 12 years, and then I was telling to Mr. Harsha saying, why can't we met earlier? Because the same thing can be achieved in 3 years. Why we spend 12 years? So this was an eye-opening thing that made me little nervous. But again, I have a good vision on the Nesca Homes. So Nesca Homes, we are focusing on wooden house constructions, especially as a colonies, like using 50 houses a set and then 100 houses a set, where people can go as a brand, like they can enjoy the privilege of same thing what we have been doing since 20 years in US and Canada. So we can bring the best quality of the products here. We can bring the best experience. So I feel the technical skill makes me first. My identity is a technical skill. That's what I'm taking it again and again. And then second is always team. Team comes the building a team. We should be building a team. And then third, always I see a strategy, strategical operations on the technicals and the teams and the markets. So these three I will always feel is needed. And then definitely the other skills are there which we can either get from the outsourcing or get from the adopting the new resources, hiring the resources. I feel, yeah. So, Mr. Harsha, which is three skills that I feel.
Yeah, you're known for talking less and doing more. Your quality of work actually speaks. Your work speaks for all the words that you very simply put it. Wonderful. Okay. So thank you very much, Lakshminarayana, and we will go now to Sandeep.
Yeah. So yeah, when Mr. Harsha told me about this Zoom call, and I was actually supposed to travel today, and somehow the trip got postponed to tomorrow. So luckily I could find some time. And the bigger trickier thing was to find out the three reasons. I never thought about it. I was just joking with him, saying that I never thought so much. So that's something which. So in fact, I was going through all the group responses that when Mr. Harsha posted across the three qualities that made you a better entrepreneur or a successful entrepreneur, and I was going through them, and lot of good responses which were like great determination, passion, and perseverance, and ability to execute, and like what Pankaj has informed, or Lakshminarayan informed, technical knowledge and all that. But I didn't want to repeat the same thing again and again, and I typically have a tendency to try to address the root in terms of what would drive these things, and essentially see all this what we mentioned by the other entrepreneurs in the group, more or less were the prerequisites in my view to become entrepreneur more or less, because that's something which without which the survival as well as the journey becomes very difficult. And that's a prime example of me, where uh, we were tested time and again, and all those qualities were needed as a default in my view, more or less. And passion is something without which, if you don't enjoy your work, as simple as that, nothing else works. It can be a job or a business or anything else. So my three reasons that I've sent it out. Unfortunately I couldn't post it in the group, but I sent it to on a personal chat with Mr. Harsha, and I just I'll just repeat. I'll just give the three reasons. One is your ability to read through the macro and microeconomical indicators that's around you. That is something which I see a lot of people miss out most of the times, and that actually impacts your strategy. That is one. And second one was, I'll come again explaining all the three. The second one is front loading of quality manpower. This again I learned it from Mr. Harsha when we had a long chat when he came down to my office, and that was something which was consciously done. And front loading of quality manpower, even if, okay, I'll come back to that later. The third one is a product market fit, as well as the ability and also the hold on of the entrepreneur on the numbers in sense the margins, the cost escalations to your finances, your banking, costing, whatnot. That's something which impacts. These are three, four things that I thought would be a very good see through in terms of the ability, the three requisites that, as per me, would drive a person to drive a company better. So the first one is why I say that most of the times I miss out. I see a lot of people missing out or losing a train in terms of missing a train in senses. See, it's a fast-moving world right now, and extremely fast-paced lifestyle where the interconnectivity of the world has impacted everybody. So there is no business that is insulated right now from what's happening in US or China or Europe or Delhi or Bombay, or even as far as Gachboli, because most of the big softwares are written in places like this, and these are things that can impact your business. It can be a small kirana shop that can get impacted big time by a GeoMart. So that's so your ability to read through and understand and have a grasp of what's happening around you in terms of micro as well as macroeconomic indicators, as well as the macroeconomic news, is something which I think becomes a very important aspect of your strategy. That is something where you can place your business according to the changes. So the smaller business can always cling on to a bigger business if they become an ecosystem, but they cannot become a competitor. So that's something which becomes one of the most important aspects. So there's a lot of change that's happening, but luckily this generation, especially my generation or Pankaj or even Lakshminarayan's generation, we are blessed to have connected to the best information online for free. So that is something you can read in New York Times today, you can read Washington Post, I can read the best business magazines, podcast, I can hear podcasts, I can get access to any newspaper in the world at a click of a button, and some of the most knowledgeable people talking on Clubhouse today. And that's something which would have been impossible 10 years back. And that is something which again is a very important aspect, that people need to have a very important aspect of their business coming out of these knowledgeable sources, which drives their strategy and their way forward. That's one. Second is front loading of manpower, quality manpower. I've always believed this, and there's no good quality manpower that's going to go waste always. So if you think that somebody is good, and if you cannot afford him, but you think that he'll be good for you, hire him. As simple as that. He will deliver you. He or she will deliver the goods for you. Always, because don't lose out on good quality manpower, because good quality manpower always does the job for you instead of a bad or average or a below the radar quality manpower. Even if it's expensive, but the quality brings you a better return always. And that's something which I had a long chat with Mr. Harsha once in my office, and then went about segregating and establishing a system of hiring people, and it worked out wonderfully well for us, because I front loaded a lot of quality manpower during COVID. That was something which because of the initial panic in the companies, a lot of people, good quality people got laid off. And that was the opportunity that I at least recruited about 6 or 7 high quality manpower from MNCs. In fact, a lot of people, otherwise my company would not have been the choice for them. And I recruited, and now I've seen in 1 year's difference. The last 1 year or more than 1 year, or 15, 16 months now, they've made a tremendous amount of difference for us in terms of the way, the culture they brought in, because they came in from very, very high quality companies, and the ability, their way of executing things, and the culture they bring in terms of delegating work and everything, that was fantastic. And that's something which I always say to any entrepreneur: if you find somebody good, and don't lose that opportunity. If you find somebody good that you think that you cannot afford him, but if you can convince him to come out at a point where you can convince him with a package or something like that, don't miss out on hiring he or she. That's second. And third is product market fit. That is something which, in a very, very hyper competitive market, like especially we are in right now, where businesses, the average lifespan of a business is very, very small right now. It's not like 30 years or 40 years now. Businesses average life has come down to 10, 15 years now, and you get taken over, or you get bought over by a bigger company, or you lose out focus and you get disrupted badly. So product market fit becomes a very, very important aspect. So I'll give you an example of mine. So I run a warehousing company. I build warehouses for all kinds of needs, and it can be a retail company or it can be an e-commerce company. I work with Flipkart, I work with Amazon, I work with Reliance, I can work with DHL. Even work with a small company who makes stores rice. So, but at a certain point of time, around 2014-15, we consciously took a call to only do high quality spaces, because we were very clear that was the need of the hour in the Hyderabad market, and but it was expensive. The trade-off was, I was jumping from a 600-700 rupees per square foot construction cost to 1,000-1,200 to 1,600 to 1,700 rupees. That was a huge jump, and that was something which is a 3-time jump. But my revenues were not going to go up as much as 3 times. It's going to be incremental jump of 30-40%, whereas my capital cost would have shot up by 300%. But that's a trade-off I took. I took a conscious call to pivot to a very, very high quality space. What turned out by 2018-19 was that, due to the consolidation of the retail space, and also this big guys coming in with high quality network automation requirements, we turned out to be the only developer in the market who could deliver those spaces. And today we could convince 3 of the big guys to sit in one campus. That itself is a big manifestation that what we've achieved in that regard. I have the 3 big boys sitting in one compound, which doesn't happen across anywhere in the country, because they fight like tigers, and that's like but that also is a validation of our quality of space that we provide, and on the model itself, and what the product itself, where we delivered to these guys. And so that is, product market fit becomes a very, very important aspect, because you cannot cater to everybody and anybody in the market. It simply doesn't work like that anymore, because it's a very hyper competitive market. You need to be really good at what you do. You have to be absolutely good at what you do, and that becomes a default now. As I said in the initial part of the speech, quality is a default now. You cannot do under quality work. It can be anything. And quality becomes a default. But in that quality, providing high quality space with the right product market fit becomes a very, very lethal combination. If you can crack that, I think you pretty much have a very, very good space. It can be any field, and I'm specifically talking of warehousing, where I come from. And the other one, in fact, Harsha asked me for 3. The other one was the hold on the numbers. I always say this, and this is something which I've always been good at, because my finance, I have a very good advisor with me with regards to my numbers and finance, and he's somebody who taught me this, especially in a very, very execution oriented field, like Lakshmi was saying about execution, right? In terms of, when you're executing greenfield projects, hold on your numbers is absolutely critical, because most of the times, if you lose control on your numbers, that's where majority of your problems start. And you need to have your pre-execution numbers of what's your margins going to be, what's your project cost going to be, what is the escalation going to be, what is your capital investment that's going to be, what is a delay, if there is a delay, what's the cost going to be. You need to trickle it down to a very micro level. If that you can hold on, and because it helps you in terms of the overall picture. You don't lose focus on the overall picture. The overall picture becomes a very important aspect when you're doing an execution oriented business like me. And that's something which again you have a lot of control on, because of it can be. See, in India, I always say this: the premium of doing business in India comes from lot of non-variable factors that are not in your control. Something like a government permission to anything it can be. So even if you factor 100 things, there will be that's one factor that can delay a project. But you should be able to have a clue of what is that delay going to cost you, or what is that ripple effect is going to cost you in terms of anything. And if so, I'll give you one simple example that the numbers helped us in positive way. I hope I'm not crossing my limit. No, it's okay. Perfect. So most of the times construction projects run typically around 8 to 9 hours. So 9 to 5 is my worker time, and my site is idle for, say, most of the time, most of the other 12 hours or 15 hours, whatever it is. And but my demand from the customer is typically very urgent, because there's no company who comes to us asks me where for a warehouse next year. They say I need it immediately. Most of the times, 99% of the time, there's no customer who comes to me and says I need a space in 2022. No, I need a space next in August or September. That's a requirement, and at the end of the day we convince them. And my typical execution pace goes to our 100 days. We just executed a warehouse for Flipkart. It's a massive warehouse. We executed in 110 days. So that's a timeline we are operating. But typically, big projects take about, including a lot of other aspects like permissions, around 6 months is a good time for 180 days. But what we realized over a period of time is the cost. This cost centers become very important aspect. So what we did is that if we could convert the workflow from, say, 8 hours to, if I can design the workflow in such a way that my workflow happens for 16 to 18 hours in a day, where none of the vendors are overstretched, but I can execute in such a way that I can design my building plans in such a way that I can stretch it up to, say, 16, 18 hours. We've been able to bring down the 180 days to 110 days now. And what it did is it improved my revenue, because it's a 2 month straight revenue. Two, it decreased my cost of interest that I borrow from the bank. Third, it improved my visibility in the front of the customer. And it worked wonderfully well. All this came out because we were calculating the project costs at a very micro level, and that's where the strategy started coming out. And I could push, so I could from there on I could say, boss, okay, to my contractors, I'll pay you 20% extra or 15% extra if you can deploy your manpower during evening time, or I can pay you 15% extra if you can deploy more than 100 people in place of 60 people, whatever it is. So that came from our ability to go to a micro level in terms of numbers. So that's a very specific thing to. I hope it's not a specific thing to me, but that's coming out of my experience. So that's something. So the four things were, again, I'll just repeat it. Your grasp of micro and macroeconomic indicators. It can be anything. It can be country's GDP, to your retail policy, to your e-commerce policy, to your NASCOM policy, whatever it is, and you're able to understand the micro markets and the macro markets, who is coming into the market, who's going to be a competition. That's one. Second is front loading of quality manpower. As I explained, it's a wonderful aspect that you should give it a shot. Third is product market fit. Fourth is your tremendous hold on your numbers, and that's something which I think is a big addition if you can go to a very micro level. And I hope everybody does this.
Wonderful.
Amazing. I think amazing thoughts, Sandeep.
Very nice insights.
Frankly, directly or indirectly, all three of us are in construction. One is in wooden house, one is in warehouse, and I'm in construction.
Yeah, I know.
So,
we picked
in fact, I had approached Sandeep with the requirement like, I want the space today. a few years back. And he- yeah, and he had told me it's not possible. But that is the sort of requirement. What he told was very true, that people come with the demand like I need it yesterday.
Absolutely. So,
I really have found very interesting from both of you since like I've been talking to the Mr. Asha since years now. So I found like Pankaj, the way you said like start and finish, that's a very impressive and interesting because it sounds like a small thing, but definitely it's a major thing. Like when you start something and you finish, and then there is all comes like a passion, motivation, energy, timelines. So it sounds like a very two words, like a start finish, but it involves a lot of other factors, which is it's interesting, and then I'm happy to hear that from you. And then about Sandeep, this you said control over the numbers. That's a very interesting because I was keep asking Mr. Arsha's help, and I was taking Mr. Arsha's help. We definitely need a control over the numbers. Otherwise, we do a service, not the business.
I
Of
think
course, sometimes it also goes negative service. I mean, O in a minus. But definitely, these two start and finish makes me motive on this side, and then about the numbers, controlling the numbers, and then even the micro and macro level. So definitely, I found. Thank you, Mr. Shah, for this wonderful evening, getting beautiful insights about the skill sets
sure.
from our co-entrepreneurs.
Sandeep, what I really liked on your presentation part is your observation on, on your strategy based on the national and international micro and macro market studies and indicators. Basically, through international papers, podcasts, or reports, whatever, or policy changes. Like a simple thing, government changed its policy where input and output GSTs they stopped in construction, which hit us by 18%. You know, because
I'll
you
tell
can
you
prove
again.
the
I have
cost
a
of
very big
construction.
story. I have a big story going on with that input-output story. In fact, I'm one of the parties for that right now.
Yeah.
I have an advance ruling here on 8th of August next month. I don't want to deviate it, but I'll probably message you on that.
Yeah, but it is, those really hit and hit so hard, you don't know where your costings are turning to. And within a few months, you see the cost of construction is up by 35-40%. Overall, if
Yeah,
you see from electrical to steel to everything, and everything goes haywire. So that cost sensitiveness, I don't know how to bring in until and unless you keep increasing the market prices of you're selling the products or renting the warehouse spaces. I think you cannot fix. Yeah,
it's a very
and
important aspect because end of the day, all said and done, no competitive business can go run on the margins of about 20 now anymore. I don't see any businesses stretching 10
nothing.
more than 20. It's all around 10-15%. Hyper competitive businesses stretch even below 10 right now. So any change in numbers and the margins just go for a toss, and you need to be very, very careful with those.
Previously, builders used to pre-sell all the products like KLRN, Jai Berry, everyone.
Yeah.
But there is nowhere a time. This is not the time to pre-sell. You have to, design your sales also in such a manner that 20%, then 20% in 5 slots would help actually. Otherwise, every project is a deficit project, and the builder will go for a big loss and will be no.
The thing with real estate is it's extreme reactions on either a boom or a bust. The problem is always that, and that's why I always say with Darsha also. That's one business I have no clue of. I just don't understand.
Very difficult. It's very difficult. Good.
All right. Very nice that you guys could conclude by your discussions. Usually, I do a small summary, but a summary is not required. You seem to have understood each of these things, and you have very rightfully summarized.
One thing I'd like to finish off.
Yeah,
Sir,
go ahead.
just give it a second. So basically, the Telangana government recently came about with a policy. If you, I don't know how many people would have read the logistics policy. Few about a week back, Telangana came out with the first. We were the first state to come out with a logistics policy where we identified logistics to be a go-to sector in terms of government's impetus. But that incidentally, the concept paper was given by me in 2015. So it took them 6 years to understand the importance of it.
Oh, nice. Finally, it's coming.
Very good.
Yeah. So the idea was when I gave them a concept paper when the state got formed and the new government came in place, was that the GST was more or less a certainty, and there are tremendous advantages in Telangana. So I prepared a paper saying that let's become the first state in the country to have a logistics policy, because at that point of time, companies were looking to reduce the number of warehouses and create these massive hubs across the country of 4 or 5 of them. And we were one of them. Otherwise, Nagpur would have been the ideal location for them. And that's a concept paper I had given to them, a 14-page concept paper. And luckily, at least we should be lucky that they at least understood the concept of it, and now they're pushing it across. That's something which
Great.
I work a lot with government, and for all the negative publicity they get, and they still do work sometimes. So
So this always happens, like somebody's aggressively looking at some progressive areas, and then it shows like it clearly shows, and then evidence in front of us that they are not skipping things. They are keep pushing things, better things. So,
yes.
yeah, definitely. Great. So
Okay.
it's a great evening.
Thanks, Pankaj.
Thank you, Sandeep. And